Good evening and welcome to Unapologetic, the UK podcast on politics, news and stuff from a right of centre viewpoint. Here we are again, it's a Saturday night and we have with us Sam.
Hey.
Whose phone is still making weird echo sounds. Susan.
Hello.
And Jonathan.
Hi.
Your mouth didn't move when you said that, so I'm guessing your video is having problems again. But never mind, we heard you even if your face stays the same. Okay, so bunch of things on tonight, and it's not all coronavirus for once. So it's either something has changed or actually some other things in the world are happening. Not sure if that's good or bad news. Let's find out. So the first one is definitely not good news. A fourth night of unrest in the wake of George Floyd's in-custody death in Minneapolis has resulted in another trail of destruction as rioters broke away from peaceful protests to loot businesses and start fires. The violence came despite former Minneapolis cop Derek Chauvin being arrested and charged with third-degree murder and manslaughter in connection with the death of Floyd. Chauvin is the officer seen in the video of Floyd's arrest who held his knee on the African-American man's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, continuing to do so even as Floyd lost consciousness. Who is making those sounds?
Jonathan.
Sam.
No, it's not me. It's Jonathan. You know it's Jonathan because when he's whoever's the noise he's making, he's got the green ring and it's him. It's like his background noise in his car or something.
Okay, whatever,
I'll take that back then, Sam.
Whatever that sound is, Jonathan, could you please stop it? Anyway, continuing on. Arson and burglary crimes went unopposed for hours in the area as Minnesotans watched in horror as rioters torched a United States Postal Service building, CNN News headquarters, Wells Fargo and numerous other buildings until hundreds of law enforcement and National Guard soldiers arrived at around 11:30 p.m. to scatter the crowd. By then, the damage was done, and sunrise Saturday morning has revealed the extent of the chaos. What do you make of what's going on in Minneapolis, Susan?
I think, to be fair, on this story, you need to go back to the beginning. Now, has anyone seen that video of that poor man?
Yeah. Horrible.
It is horrific. It is absolutely heartbreakingly horrific. And the fact that that person then didn't get anything happen to them, apart from losing their job, which, you know, let's be honest, is not a massive thing, considering he just killed someone. If he'd have done something and prosecuted him what they should have done, then this wouldn't have been happening.
They have.
Well, they didn't at the beginning. They did not at the beginning.
So what happened was immediately, I think Trump set the FBI to do a full investigation, and now he has been charged, following, I think, some of the investigation with murder.
But I wouldn't need an investigation. If I killed someone, an investigation like that didn't need to happen by the FBI. He killed someone on camera in front of everybody. He literally murdered that man. For no other, he didn't. Oh, it was just heartbreaking.
Well,
so as much as I don't agree with rioting, I do agree with something needs to be done.
There's some dispute about that, of course. So whether he died then or whether he died back at the station, whether it was that kneeling on the neck that killed him or not, probably was. Let's face it. But that has to be proven, and so they have to have a post-mortem or whatever you call it, an autopsy or whatever, and you know, the proper procedures have to be gone through, because if they don't go through the proper procedures and then it goes to court, the defence lawyers will use the fact that proper procedures weren't used to get the guy off, basically. Yeah,
but action needs to happen. If that was, honestly, Steve, could you imagine that right today, and you did that to somebody, you did a citizen's address and you kneeled on someone's neck for nearly 9 minutes and they died of that, and it was that, let's be honest, or they died a moment later. Would you honestly, what would you think would have happened? Do you think you'd have been arrested, or do you think you'd have been let go home? And
I don't know. Well, I think I don't know. I don't know what would happen. Certainly, if I did it, I'd be arrested. But I think but I'm not a police officer. Now, you know, the guy had immediately had a full investigation of his behaviour, was immediately suspended, and was then charged with murder. I think that is sort of what I would expect to happen. And I guess the point is, even after the FBI investigation, and even after he was arrested and charged with murder, the rioters continued. And I don't know if you've seen the pictures, but there are endless pictures of people wheeling out trolleys full of electronics and goods. They've smashed up and burnt places. People's people's businesses have been utterly destroyed. Everything's been stolen. And now, however angry you are, and you know everyone has every right to be angry if the cops have murdered someone, but however angry you are, I don't think that makes it all right to go and steal a load of stuff and burn things, does it?
No, but that's what happens, though, isn't it? When everyone's emotions are high and society expects you to behave a certain way but doesn't behave itself, then that's what's going to happen, isn't it? And I know I don't agree with rioting, I don't agree with looting, I don't agree with any of it, But I also know if that was my son, I would want something done, and I would be angry, and I just think the way it happened, and he'd had numerous complaints made against him for doing the same sort of thing.
Yeah, he had 18 disciplinary complaints against him, but his girlfriend and his family have said, like, please don't riot, because this is not what he would have wanted. I mean, he actually was a big guy, and like, you know, he was a security guard. He believed in, you know, upholding law and order, actually. So he wouldn't have like agreed with rioting. And I do think it's a bit like, you know, when the riots happened in London, people use it as an excuse. Oh, well, you know, a couple of people are rioting, so we're going to join in and do stuff we shouldn't do. And I don't think we can condone rioting at all. But I do think what's happened is disgusting. And I, you know, watching that video and seeing the guy literally pleading for his life, and the guy just carrying on, is absolutely disgusting. But I don't think what I find sad about this is, like, it's kind of a whole, oh well, if you don't agree with people rioting, then therefore you must, you know, think it's okay that the guy was killed. And I'm like, no, that's not the same. You can kind of you can think that what happened is absolutely disgusting, and want the guy to go to prison forever and throw away the key, to be honest, and also think rioting's wrong. It's not. They're not mutually exclusive.
So here's an example. If someone was killed in our town, let's say, God forbid, somebody was killed by a policeman in our town, and the town rioted, and then the rioters came to your house and burnt it down, and your children's houses and burnt them down, and your family's business and burnt it down, I think you might say, hang on a minute, I didn't do this. You know, I don't. There's just no justification for it at all. A peaceful protest, absolutely fine. Shouting, petitioning, demanding something be done, absolutely fine. Burning, rioting, and stealing stuff, that was bad. They're every bit as bad as the person who did it, in my view.
And I guess I would sit there and say, haven't they already done the peaceful protests? Didn't they do the silent kneeling and was told that was disgusting and shameful?
It was disgusting and shameful.
Yeah, but didn't they do all of these things that still didn't matter?
Hang on, one cop brutalising another guy does not
just one,
represent
is it?
any... But cops all over the world, as well as every other profession, have crazy people in them. People who go over the top in them. That doesn't reflect all the cops in America or all the cops in the world at all. This is one instance of a guy.
But we're talking about this one. And this one had 18 counts. I think Sam said 18 counts of serious misconducts against him. So 18 times they had a chance to stop him. 18 times the system allowed it to continue.
Yeah, and the Democratic leadership there decided not to do it. But you know, that might well give you a case to make a protest against them. I'm sure it does. Although I notice everyone seems to be focusing on Trump, who did the right thing, and not the Democratic leaders in the state who did the wrong thing and didn't prosecute him in the past. But that's normal, isn't it? I mean, what do you think, Jonathan?
Yeah, one thing that's slightly interesting about all this is that the guy, you know, this inept policeman, and the guy who, you know, arguably has been murdered, actually both worked as bouncers at the same nightclub, which is slightly odd.
Jonathan, there's something very strange with your audio. It's like children talking over the top of you.
Yeah, there's children outside.
Oh.
How dare they be out
But
playing?
your headphones are incredibly powerful.
They're playing. They're getting into a car, I think. But I mean, you know, they'll be gone in a minute.
Okay, all right. So yeah, well, it's a difficult situation. I think I've got a little bit more. Okay, so Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey held a press conference begging people to go home. One of them said, "The terrifying thing is that this resembles more of a military operation now, as you observe ringleaders moving from place to place." Walz said, "I will take responsibility for underestimating the wanton destruction and the sheer size of this crowd," adding that the massive crowd made it extremely difficult to make arrests. "There are simply more of them than there are of us," he said. And there's been also numerous accusations about this isn't just like black or African American people. This is all different races of people are rioting. All different people are doing it. So it's certainly a multiracial, destructive crowd going about these riots. I mean, make you think any differently, Sam? What do you think?
No, I think like I say, I don't agree with the rioting at all. I don't think you can say they're just as bad. I don't agree with that. Say it's just as bad as the cop, because I don't think rioting is just as bad as murder. Murder is much worse than rioting.
Hold on. What if one of these fires kills someone trapped in the building?
But it hasn't, has it?
It hasn't. But every day they're setting more fires. The city's ablaze. There are fires everywhere. What if sooner or later someone's going to die?
Well, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying rioting is right. I'm just saying you were saying that by doing a riot, it's just as bad as murdering someone, and I just don't agree it is, because you're right. It might murder someone, but it
No,
hasn't yet.
I
You
think
can
that
make the argument with anything.
the arson,
It's as bad as murdering.
the arson is as bad as murdering someone because someone will sooner or later be murdered by it.
Well, anyway, I have to agree to disagree, because I don't think you can say. I don't think you can say rioting is the same as what that police
It's
guy
not
did.
the rioting; it's
However,
the arson.
okay, well, arson then. But I don't think. I don't agree with rioting at all. I don't think, like I said, I've said like time and time again, I don't believe you can just say, oh, that's okay. But we shouldn't either at the same time minimise what's happened. And this guy, he's had his wife, even his wife's filed for divorce because she wants rid of him. He's clearly just like not a nice guy. But I do think as well that, we must remember this isn't all police either. This is one horrible arse guy that needs, absolutely dealing with. A lot of the police I've seen are absolutely condemning this and saying, I can't believe this. What is he doing? What's he planning at? I never dream of this. And in every single organisation, you get people that are just should not be there. And you're right, the question needs to be asked is, why has he got away with it so many times? Why are questions not being asked? And it can't just be a race thing, because I can't believe that every single case it was against a black person. So there must be something going on in that police department that they keep letting these indiscretions slide. And that serious questions need to be asked as to why they're doing that, to be honest.
I agree. And I think you need to look at the system, because why didn't anybody challenge that? Do you mean the system must be protecting that sort of behaviour for people not to challenge? I couldn't. When I watched that, honestly, my heart went cold to think about that man, and I could hear the pleading in the people's voices, and not once did that copper, that one was standing there, didn't even bother. I mean, even I would have just tapped the guy on the shoulder. I mean, why didn't he just tap him on the shoulder and say that's enough now? Or there was no need.
I think everyone.
It was cold and calculated.
Everyone agrees. I've not heard a single person who doesn't agree with that. Sam's comment is exactly, I think, what is wrong with this debate, where Sam said we mustn't minimise it. Nobody is minimising it. Nobody. I've not heard a single person say that what that cop did wasn't horrible, because everyone saw the video and everyone was like, oh my God. What is horrible is to react to it by stealing everything and burning everything. That's what's horrible. These two things, they're both crimes. They're both horrible crimes. This arson, which is all over the city, bits of the city are in flames. Someone is going to die. And anyone who says, well, never mind, it's because they're upset, doesn't understand they're also doing potential murder.
Yeah, but I think part of the problem is that it's just...
Steve's got exactly the right point there, in as much as if you hold somebody down for minutes and minutes and minutes with reckless disregard to their welfare, it's only the same as setting fire to someone's building with complete disregard to who's in there, whether you're burning children or whether you're burning disabled people or whatever.
They don't care. They're not walking through the building checking.
Yeah. No, exactly. And so, it's the same level of disregard, and hopefully if someone is killed, they would be charged with exactly the same offence, because they're doing exactly the same thing. Now, what's weird about this rioting as well is that it seems to be sort of confined to a few cities, one of which is Portland, Oregon, which is nowhere near Minnesota. I mean, it's completely the other end of the country, and yet there are other places with huge black populations where they're not rioting. So, what's that about?
Because I think the feeling is that the view is that the police tend to react badly to black American citizens, and one video said that they pulled him out of the car for no reason. There is a big movement, and Black Lives Matter movement in America has been quite a big movement for a long time, because black Americans have been oppressed for a number of years. We all know that. We all know the history. I think the biggest problem for me with this is that it's become just so politicised. And I got into a big row today because everyone's trying to make it about attacking the Republicans. I made a comment about the Democrats. Oh, how dare you say that? Well, it's okay for you guys to kind of make it political, but no one else is allowed to do it in reverse. And I just think, actually, I don't think, why is this about Trump or about anyone? This is about... Yeah, it's about institutions, and institutions are bigger than one guy. It's bigger than one man. And the institutions in America have been this way for a long time. It's not, Trump couldn't, even if he'd have wanted to, couldn't have come along and just been like, right, I'm going to change all these institutional things. It's a big machine to turn around.
Where? And
Yeah.
some of these are Democrat
I
states.
think Sam said something very odd there, because she's talking about him getting out of the vehicle. What happened apparently was he was trying to argue, allegedly, they were trying to put him into a car, but he wouldn't go because he said he was claustrophobic. At least, sort of, it wasn't him being stopped or dragged out of the car. And apparently, the whole issue was to do with a $20 note, which may or may not have been fake. I mean, for the police to use that level of force over, a counterfeit $20 note is ridiculous.
And being aware he wasn't resisting, I watched the whole video. Not once did he resist. Not once did he. I mean, he's a big guy, and not once did he ever use his strength or size to do anything. And we forget it. So we're coming off the back of coronavirus, where everyone's been told what to do and how to do it. So, I mean, a lot of people have been, especially in America, have been complaining about their rights have been taken away. Their rights to freedom of movement and things. And then a couple of weeks ago, we had another shooting of a black guy, because apparently he walked into a building site, which most of us do, quite happily be nosy and look at things. So it's not just this one thing, is it? It's the constant time. It's a constant incidents that seem to happen where black people are either shot or murdered, and it's supposed to be it's almost like an everyday occurrence now. And even I find that really strange, and I don't live in America.
But America's a gigantic country, Susan. There's going to be crimes every day, and every crime obviously is a tragedy, but we don't seem to talk about the many, many white people who are killed. We seem to talk about the black people who are killed, but not the white people. Now, I'm not saying that this obviously we all think this is a horrible crime, but when a white person is killed, even let's say rarely by a black person, everybody doesn't go rioting, do they?
I think this is because it's the police. So it's in the case of the two white guys that shot the black guy a little while ago, the police didn't arrest this guy. They actually lied to the parents of this guy and sat there and said he was caught burgling. They actually got involved in the whole incident. So it's not just black on white or white on black. It's the police, the people that are supposed to protect us.
Yeah, and that is the worst thing, I think, in this instance.
Yeah.
That the police are supposed to protect and serve, and that they just failed to do that. But like I say, it's not all the police. We're talking
not all the police.
All guys. And I think most police officers would find this repulsive, to be honest.
Well, they are all saying they do. But then lots and lots of... I don't know if you've been watching some of the other videos coming out, but there's a lot of videos of African-American business owners in tears because they feel their business has been ruined because the looters have gone through their businesses and destroyed them. They're not dealing a blow to these white oppressors. They're dealing blows to other African-American people who are trying to make a living.
Well, that is true.
I mean, it's everyone's city, isn't it, that they're burning down? it's a city that people live in. All of them.
I know. All I can say is, from my own point of view, is that I know writing is wrong. I hated it when they rioted in Manchester and London and that. I just thought, what absolute idiots to do that. Absolutely hated it, and I hate that they're doing it now. But all I'm saying is, I kind of get where they're coming from. I get why they're angry, and I get why they're trying to destroy what they've always been told is what they're supposed to do. I kind of get it. I don't think it's right. I don't agree with it, but I do kind of get the anger.
So, moving on to agenda item 2. So, with some polls and studies showing public faith in old media at an all-time low, but with new social media showing signs of having a completely new set of faults and biases, what is the future for media in general? And I'm going to start with Jonathan. What do you think, Jonathan, the future of media?
I think the newspapers ultimately are doomed in their present form. They will disappear off the scene, I think, probably in the next 10 years. They've got quite a bit of money behind them, so they'll survive for a while. But you sit on the tube. In the old days, you used to sort of sit on the tube and see people reading newspapers. Now, if you sit on the tube, all you see is people looking at their phones.
What do you think, Susan?
I don't know, if I'm honest with you. I don't necessarily watch the news because I think it's just all lies and depressing. I don't read the newspapers because I think it's just a waste of paper. And again, it's just very biased sometimes, especially local ones are extremely biased, and I don't get the information I actually want out of it. I gave my Facebook a little while ago for the last few weeks, and I have to say that turns out that's where I get most of the information from, because I didn't know anything until I actually looked on there and actually searched for it. I didn't know until like Karen up the road told me exactly what I should and should not do, what was going on in the world. So I don't hold out much hope for how it's going to look, if I'm honest.
Don't listen to the Karens.
I've never. So many of them.
What do you think, Sam?
So it's interesting, isn't it? Because this is where Twitter and Trump's taking action against them, isn't he? Because they've been fact checking his tweets. So I think their point is they're not just letting people put out their information. They're now trying to control it. So they are more of a sort of a media outlet themselves now. I think that media's changed so much. I think newspapers are on their way out. I think TV channels, I don't know, they probably won't be on their way out just because it's so expensive to, produce news shows and put them on TV and have a TV. Just dropped my phone. It's not great, is it? You all still there?
Yeah.
We are, but you're not. Oh, there you go.
That's clear. Took my phone. Yeah, and I just think that I don't know what the way out, but I know that people are more keen to search out for more information now. I mean, like this incident with this George Floyd. I've looked over so many different things on the internet. I've read about 50 different sources of different news. So many of them are different. There's so many different outlets saying different things, and they can't all be right. So there clearly is definitely bias going on somewhere, and. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And it does get to the point where it's hard to know what the actual truth is. And I remember actually reading something on the George Floyd story. There was it's interesting how lies are spread, because there was I can't remember who it was that claimed that the cop that killed the guy George Floyd was previously at a Trump rally wearing a MAGA hat, and apparently that was a complete and utter lie. The paper that published it had to admit that it was a complete and utter lie and a complete false claim. So I do sometimes wonder as well if the media are guilty of a lot of this, because I do wonder how much, on the previous topic, have they stoked it up? Because actually, like you say, the cop was fired straight away. Had the police said, this is awful, the cop's been fired straight away, we're going to fight for justice and all of that, the media actually can set the agenda too, and set it for good rather than setting it for bad, rather than sort of being outraged all the time and stoking people up. And I don't think that's helpful. I think they do actually have a moral obligation to set the agenda for good.
Yeah, but they couldn't care less what their moral obligation is. Most of them, not all of them, I'm sure. I was thinking about this.
Yeah, that's true.
I was thinking about this the other day, and the modern social media problem is that, as you said, you get 19 different versions of a story. Nobody knows which one is true, but everyone gravitates towards the one that's closest to what they already believed was true. So they confirmation bias their way too. And you say, well, hang on, in the old days, what happened then? And what happened in the old days? Are you still there, Sam? Yeah. So in the old days, what happened was that exactly the same thing, 19 different versions of a story, but you got the one that a journalist or an editor decided was the right one. It was no different before. There would still have been all these different versions of facts coming in, but you got the feed through one person or one individual's decision. Whereas now you hear all 19 and you get it through your decision. I don't know which one is better, but I do like the ability to choose myself rather than trust someone else. Because frankly, I don't trust journalists or local editors at all. I think that they are bad news. They get on a little power trip. They like to be the big I am, and they turn a story the way they want people to believe it, and that is not always the truth.
I've been seeing a lot of stories recently with the clickbait titles, things like, government have stopped scientists from sharing their views, and actually what it was is they was asking an inappropriate question, and actually the scientists said we don't want to answer those questions, actually. We don't want to be political. No. But the clickbait thing was so different to the actual true story. It was frightening, actually. So. Yeah,
they can't get the answer. They're trying to get a got you moment on the politician. They can't get it, so they turn to the expert standing beside them and they try and they try and corner them into giving the answer they want to give, because they are perhaps a little less experienced at dealing with the press. And it's frustrating, isn't it? Because, perhaps the politician was telling the truth, perhaps they weren't. But to try and constantly bully people into saying what you as a journalist want them to say, that's just as bad.
And we've seen it, haven't we? I mean, instantly, it was the minute this coronavirus hit, what's the exit strategy? The minute they got an exit strategy, it was too soon. And I mean, anything that happens, what about our children? It's not at school. Okay, we'll send them back to school then. Oh God, I can't believe we're sending them back to school. Every single thing has
Anything
been
that they
an
do,
absolute.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, but
it's been
because
so
they need, the thing
annoying.
it's because they need content, and they need content to make money, and they have to sometimes generate content. And it's like the thing with Cummings, you know, they want it to keep running and running because every time there's a news, it runs, they can write a new story about it. And I think it's probably the same in America with the rioting. Every time someone riots, there's a new news story that day, isn't there? Every time someone comments about the rioting, that's another thing to put in the news. It's just constant comment after comment after comment, and I don't know, I sometimes wonder whether a lot of the problems we have are actually caused by the press and a lot of the divisions. I mean, especially with Brexit, a lot of the stuff that was hyped up over that on both sides, it became so toxic. And I think a lot of that was the press, because a lot of the papers, like the left-wing media, like the Guardian and things, were saying, "Oh, you know, if you vote for Brexit, you're a racist, and you know we're so intelligent and we know everything." And then you had like the Express and the Mail saying, you know, these Ramonas, you know, they're just torty people that think
Who's
they know
got
it
the
all.
siren?
Jonathan.
Jonathan, turn your
Yeah.
audio off when you're not speaking.
Turn what?
Turn your audio off when you're not speaking. Mute yourself. Then we won't hear all these endless, exciting backdrops in your house.
Well, it's a rioting outside. It's those children. They're taken by the cars.
Do you live in Minneapolis?
I think what Sam said was a really good point though about the George Floyd story. If the media had actually done an honest, unbiased account, these probably wouldn't have been happening. Because of all the stories that I read, not once did I read about the actual consequences to the copper. I always read constantly about how he'd done lots of things before, he was a horrible person, he was supported to continue to be a horrible person, this poor man died. I saw lots and lots of clips of that. Not once did I hear about the consequences to him.
Yeah, there's too
No,
many.
you're right, and that's the thing. He did, like, literally the next day. All four police officers were not just suspended; they were fired. You know, his wife's filed for divorce, kicked him out of the house. Now he's been arrested, and a full investigation has been launched. So actions have been taken. And don't get me wrong, I don't know. You know, it depends on the outcome of the arrest and things. You don't know. I'm not saying, you know, necessarily it's going to be the right outcome. They might let you know. I don't know. We've not seen it to its full conclusions, but actions have been taken, and I don't think it's been properly reported.
No, it's difficult, and I feel the same way about. I mean, I'm always looking at press stories, and then a day later something comes out that says that was wrong, and they always put the big story on the front page, and then 57 independent people run it on different levels of social media, and by the time they print their page 47 apology in tiny print in a little box, it's too late because it's all over the place, and all the false news stories are out there and getting spread by the kind of left and right wing different little independent groups like the Canary and these other kind of websites that pop up that push one point of view and only one point of view. Business Insider, you know, these sort of places, and you see these links pop up all over Facebook and Twitter, and people believe it, and it happens at every level. I mean, we've seen that it happens at a national level. We've seen it happens at a local level too. The press are every bit as bad wherever they are. The scale is different. But the stuff they do, the way they spin and lie for their own benefit, it's the same, isn't it?
I think especially with COVID-19, I've seen a lot of that. I've seen a lot of scaremongering and they've petrified some people, and they don't report the actual, you know, because the word risk is so bounded around now, isn't it? You know, the letters from schools, the emails from everyone, it's risk, risk, risk. Yeah. And no one ever talks about the actual factors that are going on behind, and, you know, actually where those risks are and how we're managing those risks and stuff. So, yeah, I think to be fair, like Sam sat there and said, the media's got a lot to answer for the way that they share a story. They could do a lot better, I think, a lot better.
Yeah, so now, Susan, the next story that we're going to do tonight is one that you asked for, and it's about Sky TV. Yes. Now, I'm not sure about the full background of this, so take it away.
So, as a Sky customer, I wanted to phone up and sort my Sky package out. Now, it says on there, and it has done since the day COVID hit, that unless you are a vulnerable person or a key worker, don't ring us. We will not answer the phone to you. Now, first of all, that really annoys me, because I think, how can you not give customer service to your actual paying customers? Two, it's been 2 months now, so when are you then going to allow normal, everyday paying customers to phone up? Now, what really bugs me is that obviously when your package ends and your offers end, your bill goes double. So some people's, I've been looking, if you look on their Facebook page and on their post, some people's bills gone from £40 to 110, like overnight. they're not allowed to phone up because they're not vulnerable and you cannot get through. You're not allowed to. And by the time you can't change your package online unless you're going up. So all of these things I just feel are really, really inappropriate. So I'm angry at Sky.
Yeah, I can see why you would be. Jonathan, before I ask you to chip in on this, I did mute you deliberately, and that was because there keeps being all these strange sounds over everybody's talking from your mic. So I was muting you while you weren't speaking. So I just noticed you unmuted yourself.
Shall I close the window?
Well, I think
Oh,
it's probably not a bad
the window
idea.
to your house?
Well, hang on a second.
Oh,
Oh my God.
All right. While Jonathan is... Hang on, I'm going to mute him again. While Jonathan's off doing that, you guys... Sam, what have you got to make of Susan's serious complaint about Sky?
Well, I don't like Sky. I left them a long time ago because they're too expensive and they keep putting their prices up all the time. So, Sky are not good.
Well, that's good.
That's my
That's
view.
conclusive. So let me just understand this, Susan. You're not allowed to call them unless you're vulnerable. But what about if you want to kind of, what about if you kind of want to quit your package or change your package or something? Can you still not call them?
no,
Seems
you're not allowed to.
Seems like a convenient way to stop anybody leaving their service.
That's
Yes.
the point she's making. She's saying that
Yeah.
they put your prices up and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's very
But,
sneaky.
but you can phone up if you want to add things, and you can phone up if you're moving home and want to add Sky to your new home. You're just not allowed to phone up if you want to cancel things. So,
I would just cancel the direct debit, to be honest, and then just wait for them to call you.
the help that they've done is that if people have been on furloughed or got the self-employed support, that you then can, online, apparently freeze your package. Guess what doesn't work? It is that button. So yeah, so I mean, luckily, I'm a key worker, so I've been able to phone up and sort mine out. But even when I challenged them and sat and said, for 2 months you've stopped anybody else from phoning, how can you? People are paying for a service. And they've sat there and said that a lot of us have been furloughed. So
Well, I suppose they might have been, but I don't know. I do think, perhaps that's true. But I think some companies are genuinely having problems, and others are kind of using what's going on to achieve things they couldn't otherwise achieve. So there's a mixture of business practices going on out there, I think. Susan, Jonathan, are you back? You don't look very back.
he's gone. He's gone.
So while he's gone, look at that cabinet behind him. Look at all that stuff in it. It's like do you know in the horror movie Cabin in the Woods when they go into the cellar and there's loads of different
Yes,
things.
little
And
trinkets.
depending on which one they pick up, a different monster will happen. Well, I think maybe Jonathan's got that going on back there. Which one would you
Maybe
pick?
someone's.
I would.
There's one that looks like it's slightly glowing at the right at the front.
Oh yeah. I would pick.
That's what,
I mean, they all
that's what I was
just.
looking.
They're not very very varied. They all just seem to be different sorts of shield.
I think
The
that
one's wood glue.
I'd get the one that's like lit up. I think when you press it, it casts some sort of spell that takes you to another dimension.
Do you remember what?
I'll take the wood glue.
When they picked a monster in Cabin in the Woods, the movie. Does anyone remember what the monster was called?
Yes, it was the bucknose.
That's what it was, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yes.
Funny times. Oh dear.
I love how Sam just for hours like don't.
I don't even think that's that good a film, to be honest.
What? That is a classic movie.
Okay, it's not great.
Like, guys, I'm not sure Jonathan is ever coming back. I think.
No.
You've got me muted.
How can you be muted if we've just heard you?
Well, I've got a box here saying unmute, and the other thing I've got is a box in front of me saying choose one of the audio conference options, but nothing on it. It's blank.
Well, we've got just a brilliant view of your Cabin in the Woods collection.
The what? Cabin in the Woods?
All right, guys. Look, we've pretty much covered everything. So now we come to that point of the chat where we see if anybody's got anything additional or extra they want to add. And one after the other, you tend to say no, I've got nothing. But maybe today will be different. So I'm going to start with Sam. Got anything extra, Sam?
I got some new fish today, and I think they're trying to mate.
How do you know?
Well, because so
Well,
basically-
Steve, what happens is when
Yeah.
when a grown up meets another grown up,
basically,
Is that the
I
same
had,
with
like,
fish? I thought they fertilise eggs or something. I don't know.
No,
Biology's never my strong
So
point.
what actually happens is the male goes close to the female and puts his anal fin briefly in her and releases his sperm. I've been reading all about this afternoon.
Right.
So basically, they're
Is
crackings,
anal
right?
fin?
They're live bearers. An anal fin, yeah, that's what they're called on a man. So
Oh.
anyway, what the situation is, I had a fish, right, that I won from a vet, and it lasted for ages. And I thought it was lonely, so I got some company, and I got I think it was like 2 fish. Yeah, I got 2 fish, right? And I didn't know. They told me they were both females. But then one day, 3 babies came. So at this point, I had 5 fish, right? Because the fair one had died. So I had 5 fish. One instantly died, which was really sad. And then I had 4 fish, right? Mum and dad, and then 2 babies. And then either mum or dad, I'm not sure which, but one of the parents died because I don't know what gender it was. You see, so I had like a parent and 2 kids. Anyway, the 2 kids died. Like this wasn't soon. This was over the course of like a year or 2. I didn't like heal them or anything. And then one parent has been on its own for like a year, and I just felt it was a bit sad and lonely. And I've kind of thought, I won't get any more fish because when it dies, I just won't replace it. But it's held on for a long time, so I thought I'm going to get, I'm going to do this properly. I'm going to get some more fish, right? So I went and got some more fish today, and
was that an essential journey?
Yeah, well, no, you went out to go to pet shops, and I went to a pet shop, and I also got some cat items, cat food for my cat. Anyway, so when I was there, I got some fish, and I did not know whether the parent that was left was a male or female, right? And I was thinking, well, maybe it'll be female, because these 3 I've got are females, but I don't think that's true, because all this one, as soon as I put these fish in, my original fish has gone crazy. He's chasing the 3 of them around. Keeps trying to go in the corner of the tank with them. Something's definitely going on. It's like 2 of them huddled together in the top, and then he follows them. He chases them up there, follows them, gets real close to them, like he's going to do the business. No, he's not trying to eat them. He's trying to penetrate them.
I don't know about that.
Honestly, I know you think I'm crazy, but it's happening. I've been watching these fish
I think you've been in lockdown too long.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I'm telling you, he's definitely. What I think's happened is that was the dad. That was the dad that survived. The mum must have died. The dad survived, and now he's got these 3 new females. That's what's made him all happy and stuff.
It sounds like you're just making your own Mills and Boon novel from the fish.
Look, desperate times. Like you say, it's been a long 8 weeks.
Susan, have you got anything better than the fish story to add?
Me and my youngest are going to do one of them 50-mile things. You know, where you do it online and then you do the 50 miles, you prove it, and then they send you a medal. We're going to do one of them.
50 miles
because
of
we
what?
thought we might, like walking or running. You can do whichever one you want.
Would you do it at your house?
We're going to do. No, I'm going to go out the house.
Oh,
You're going to do it in one go?
No. You get like a month. So you can do like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 120, 200 miles.
This sounds very easy. We've been doing more than
It's
that, just shopping for older people in our area.
It's setting yourself a goal. And it's quite, but you shouldn't use it as your normal walking. It should be an additional exercise, like one where you actually go out and exercise.
I thought you were
So
going to
we
be
did
like...
You have to prove this.
Yeah.
Yeah, how'd you prove it? That you've done
So
it?
if you've got like a running app on your phone or on your Fitbit or your smartwatch or you've got a running machine or something, all of it. There's loads of ways. I did it ages ago once, and I really enjoyed it. So me and Abby are going to do it again this year. This month on the 1st, starting off the 1st.
Somebody on Facebook did this recently, locally, where they went up and down their stairs 500 times or something. Who told me that? Somebody's child wanted to prove they could do this, and they went up and down the stairs over the course of 2 days or something. I don't know. Anyway, Jonathan, you got anything special to add to our riveting show tonight?
On that...
He's muted himself.
Yeah.
Such
He's
the boomer.
so old. Look at him, oh bless him.
He's just frozen there. It's quite a good picture though. He looks like a bit of an elder statesman right there, doesn't he? Very serious.
Jonathan,
like a professor.
you muted yourself.
I think he's gone. He's turned his audio
So
off.
he's unfrozen, that's for sure. Can you unmute him?
Yeah,
No, he's muted it, isn't
he's
he?
not muted.
He has, because you can see the little thing up on his screen.
Do you want me to try and unmute him? I'll give it a go.
if you must.
Jonathan, can you hear us? Well, it's another fantastic episode of Unapologetic by Zoom. Jonathan, are you
In the
there?
next episode, we all hope that Jonathan would have bought a decent computer. Here's hoping.
I don't know, we'll lose some of the comedy value if he ever does. Well, I think we've pretty much come to the end of the show, guys. Jonathan doesn't appear to be coming back anytime soon. So, I'm guessing that's time to call it a day, as it were. So, we have been Unapologetic, the UK podcast on politics, news and stuff from a right of centre viewpoint. Say goodnight, Sam.
Good night.
Say goodnight, Susan.
Good night.
And he says, hopefully, say goodnight, Jonathan.
Good night, John Boy. Wherever he is on your screen.
Oh, dear.
He's outside for me.
He's down there for me.
I don't think he's going to be able to say goodnight, unfortunately.
No.
Wave,
No.
Jonathan. Wave good night.
I thought I'd play the music at the end.
Yay, he's waving.
Good night.
See you, everyone.
This is when you find out Steve forgot to press record again.
Wouldn't even be surprised now. Sam, it happens so often.